Hello and welcome to the Global Conscious Parenting Assembly. I'm so happy you took the time to join us in another episode of our assembly. I am your host. My name is Karin Wachter, and our topic today is how can we support our children to become the best possible leaders of tomorrow? My terrific guest today is Jocelyn Starfeather, a visibility and leadership coach for visionary entrepreneurs, a spiritual alchemist, and the founder of the Sacred Planet community. Jocelyn, welcome to the assembly.
Thank you so much, Karen. It is a pleasure to be here, and I'm so excited about this conversation.
Thank you. I've been looking forward to our conversation, and thank you for giving us your time. Well, but before we start our conversation, please tell us a little bit about you and your background. How has been your journey through life that leads you to be sitting here in front of me, talking to me about the leaders of tomorrow?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that could be a several hours of a story. So I will stick with the shorter version. I worked in corporate business and finance for 15 years. And did quite well in that world, moving up the corporate ladder and everything. And there was a moment in time. It was actually the birth of my first daughter. I can remember when she was maybe 3 days old, and I was sitting at home on the couch and holding her in my arms and looking down at into her beautiful face and thinking, oh my goodness, I just had this moment of realization. I've lived my entire life doing what everybody else said that I should do. Right? I got my bachelor's degree, I got my master's degree, I got a good job, I got married, all the things that we're supposed to do. And looking into her eyes that day, it was like my reality shifted, and I came into this realization that I had not been following the path of my soul, particularly in my career. And so I realized at that moment that I wanted to live differently. I wanted to, spend my energy every day differently to be a better model of the future for her and to create a life that I would feel so much more in my power and know that I'm following the path of my soul. So that was quite a journey, and it took a while for me to figure out what that even, meant for my life. But eventually, I did quit my corporate job, and I started my business, Sacred Planet, in 2015. My daughter was born in 2010, so it was about 5 years of adjusting to all of that new information. And so since then, I've been working in this way of serving people who want to change the world. So whether that is working with entrepreneurs who want to start a business and change the world, or spiritual seekers who are on the path of their awakening and their evolution of their soul, and looking for how do I navigate this.
Mhm.
That's what I've been doing. But meanwhile, I've been raising my beautiful daughters, and so Sophia is now 13, my oldest, who was born and really catalyzed that whole shift in my life. And then my younger daughter Lily is 10 now, and so I have learned more from them than from anything else in life, that's for sure. And as I look at the world, um, well, the young people of today, certainly have a lot of big decisions to make as they grow into adulthood, as they become the leaders of our future world. And certainly for my kids, I want to create the best possibilities for them, the best potentials for them, and um, there's more I could say about that, but for all parents and educators and people who care about our next generations, I know we're all feeling this way at this time. What shifts and changes do we need to make, and how can we empower our children in the best possible way for their future?
Yeah, I can't agree more, Jocelyn. And I think nobody can deny that we live in unprecedented times where one crisis is followed by the next crisis. And we can clearly see that leadership in our world today is not true leadership for the most part. And what kind of leadership do you believe is needed for the future of the world?
Yes. So I have really, really strong opinions about all this because I completely agree with you that most of the leadership in our world is false leadership. It's based on very outdated value systems. It's based on, how can we make the most money? Or, how can we, be the most powerful? And these are not true ideals. These are not, values that are in highest integrity for any of us.
Yeah.
So we really need a big shift. We need a huge shift. And I believe that is starting to happen in our world. I see that starting to happen in the world in many ways, especially as I work with entrepreneurs who are really rising into their power and coming and speaking their voices and calling for change, or creating art that's going to that's going to help catalyze change, or doing coaching, or all kinds of different work that we can do to help shift the dynamics in our world. And really, it needs to begin within every one of us.
Mhm.
And as each of us shift and change our lives and raise our consciousness and come into alignment with the path of our soul and our purpose, and create lives in deeper and deeper integrity to ourselves, then our world will be in alignment with that, because we will be doing that as a collective. So I think that's one important thing to say, is that we are each leaders, right? We are each truly leaders in our own lives, and we get to choose what values we're going to hold, and how we want to live, and the life we want to create. And that truly does impact the whole. Now, the leaders of the future, I love this topic. So the leadership of the future, I see this in terms of the Aquarian archetype. I also study astrology
Mhm.
and astronomy, and so there is an archetype of the Aquarian age that we are moving into. And I will say, just on a scientific note, we are astronomically moving into the age of Aquarius, quite literally, which means that the sun on the vernal equinox in the northern hemisphere rises inside of a particular constellation of the zodiac. Now, that changes about every 2,000 years, and the sun has been rising in the zodiac sign of Pisces for about 2,000 years now, and is beginning to rise right on the edge of where Pisces ends and Aquarius begins. So we are literally, scientifically, we are moving into the age of Aquarius. So this is very interesting, because the Aquarian value system is very different than what we see in our leadership today. So in the
Mhm.
Aquarian value system, it is not acceptable to have the 1 or 2% of people at the top have all the power and all the money. And that's what we currently see in our world today. The Aquarian value system is very humanitarian, egalitarian, where everybody gets to have opportunities. Everybody has a chance to be a leader, and the community is very important. So this is a very grassroots look at things, where we are shifting the power dynamic from those 1 or 2% of the people at the
Yeah.
top to, let's build it from the ground up, from
Mhm.
the communities, and the power is distributed among everybody, and the money is distributed among everybody. Now, clearly this requires a big shift, and so I think this is why so much of our world, we see governments crumbling, we see so many changes in the systems and structures of our world. Well, it has to change. The old way has to crumble, and the new way has to come in. In addition, the Aquarian value system really idealizes, in a good way, the unique genius of each person, right? So it's like, weird is the new cool, you know. And I think this is really important for us to know, because it is so important at this time for each of us to, each in our own way, express ourselves creatively, speak our unique voice, come forward with what we hold in highest integrity, and what we believe and what we want to create for the future. And again, in that Aquarian value system, everyone's uniqueness is honored. Now, this is very different than what we see in mainstream society today, too, because in the mainstream culture, you want to be like everybody else, you want to be normal, and I really think that's fading already. I see that with my kids, I see that all around me with the people I work with. It's like no, let's not be normal. Let's be true to ourselves. Let's be unique. Let's be different. Let's bring something different forward into the world. So we want to really embrace that at this time. And of course, allow our kids to cultivate that as they are going to naturally do. Um, it's interesting because children, and especially at the teenage years, need to individualize. They need to rebel against whatever has been put in front of them, whether that's from their parents or the school system or whatever it might be, right? And so this is a time that I think we want to foster that individuation, when it can be done in positive ways, foster that rebelling against the system, because they really have a lot of brilliance to be doing that. These systems are not working.
Yeah.
One more thing that I will mention about the Aquarian values system is that it really values the indigenous way, again, a more community-based way of living,
Mhm.
right? That's more connected to the earth. That's not like I'm seeing the difference between a house that's built out of local materials, a one-story house, like kind of living close to the earth, versus a 50-story skyscraper in the city, right?
Mhm.
The difference between those two things, well, the Aquarian values are supporting this really earth connected way of living. So I'll pause there, but this is how I see the leadership of the future being very, very Aquarian, honoring the uniqueness of every individual based in the community, not
Yeah.
that top-down leadership structure, and really in a way that's good for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. So I see in my workplace and my world around, I see both extremes still played out. And
Mhm.
I think we and future children have to make a choice where they want to go, into hierarchy or into community, right? And well, but what do our children need most in order to rise into this new kind of leadership? What do they have to learn, or what do they have to bring to the table?
Yes, definitely. So confidence is, I feel, one of the biggest things that we really want to be helping our children to foster and to keep. The interesting thing is they come in with that confidence. They come in knowing what they want, knowing how to ask for it. And then through, the years of schooling and social pressure and things like that, they start to hold back, right? Or they, many kids start to feel shy or start to hold back their true expression and all of their confidence. And so I do think as parents and educators, it's so important for us to sit down and have conversations, with our kids about, you get to express yourself. You get to express yourself as long as you're being true to your heart and you're not hurting anybody. Express yourself and really help them to foster that confidence,
Mhm.
because they're going to need it. They're going to be up against a lot of forces in this world. And so then as they rise into whatever kind of leadership they're going to claim in their life, we want them to have that confidence and not feel like they have to back down or bow down or be shy, but really, really be able to stand out and speak. Responsibility is another thing, and this has been certainly across all generations, but I see a lot of talk, and I don't know how true this is, but about the millennials not taking responsibility or not, stepping up into, their getting a job or whatever that might be. And so I think there's been maybe something that's happened where, with all of the conveniences of modern life, right? Kids have it easier as they're growing up. They're not working out in the fields generally these days. In most of the countries around the world, they're not having these responsibilities put on them at an early age, which is probably good in some ways, but also, how can we still teach them responsibility? How can we let them learn about money from an early age? I think it's really important for kids to learn about entrepreneurship from an early age and know that these standard professions are not the only option. They're great if that's what you're called to, but if you're called to do things your own way and create your own career, then do that. um, so responsibility around, taking care of their space, taking care of the house together with the family, just these areas of responsibility are so incredibly important. And this brings us to something, a kind of a bigger picture ideal, which is this concept of being in harmonic balance. Or in, I study ancient Egypt, as you can probably see from the papyruses behind me. And there's a principle in ancient Egypt that's really important for us to look at today, which is the principle of Ma'at.
Mhm.
Now, Ma'at is actually this goddess right here, with her wings out and an ostrich feather on her head. And she stands for natural order and cosmic law, right? So there's a lot that's happening in our world today that is out of balance
Mhm.
with the natural order and the cosmic law. So we, for example, we know that trees, forests are essential to the health of our planet and our own, our own health. We need the oxygen. The trees have been providing the oxygen for really millions of years. And so we are way out of balance. We are way outside of natural order when we're cutting down huge swaths of forest to get more oil out of the ground,
Mhm.
right? Or to use that timber to build things, for our advancement. It's out of order. It's not right. It's not in alignment. And so having a way of helping children to, I believe, connecting with the earth is an important part of this,
Mhm.
to understand our reciprocity, our connection with all that is around us, and how the actions that we take impact the earth, impact the trees, impact the animals and the plants and other people, is really important. And I don't know that children are getting much education on that in the, regular school systems today. So this is absolutely critical because it shifts our perception of how we should be doing what we're doing, right?
Mhm.
If we knew as a society that it was not okay to cut down the forests, we would find another way. We would find another way to get energy. But somehow these values are not being used, these values of how do we stay in alignment with the natural order of things, right? So I feel that's something that's just critically important, to convey to our children today. And then the last thing I'll mention is their sense of purpose,
Mhm.
right? And so this ties in with the responsibility and it ties in with the confidence, but really the sense of purpose, for our children is so important because each of us, and certainly including each of our children, came here with a mission. I so deeply believe this. We each hold a key to something that the world needs. And for one person, that may be gardening, and for another person, that may be being a veterinarian, and another, that so many different things that we can do in the world to contribute to the whole. But we want to really have these conversations with our kids about, what do you love to do? What makes you so happy when you get to do it? And then let's talk about how you can do more of that right now in your life. And then how could you maybe make that into a career or a hobby that you're going to continue doing because you love it so much and it brings you joy? And this is the fun thing about purpose, is that whatever our purpose is, it's always going to bring us joy.
Yes.
It's going to be what we love to do and what lights us up. So again, I don't think this is something they're getting in the normal, public school systems and probably most schooling systems. So it's just really important. I know I've heard of in Montessori and Waldorf schools, they'll have passion projects. And that's wonderful. That's exactly what this is. So yeah, from like 5 years old, what do you love to do? Let's set up a project so you can do more of that. And then as they grow into adulthood, then they'll be able to really claim their leadership in that area of that thing they love, and live a happy life, not only being,
Mhm.
confident and taking responsibility as a leader, but being happy, um,
Exactly.
because they're fulfilled in what they're doing. So those are my thoughts on what our kids need most.
Yeah, I love it, especially when you say to give them space to experiment with themselves and give them space to feel and experience themselves, try themselves out, and not give them, as the school system does nowadays, a prescription list of what you have to do in order to have a happy life later in life. what you and me tried out probably to do and ended up not to be so very happy with, and finding our own ways later in life to do that work, what could be done and talked about much earlier on, right? So
Yeah.
can you give us maybe some examples already of where children or young people are already stepping into this kind of leadership?
Yeah, definitely. I will say I am so encouraged by the young people I know who are in their 20s, even very early 20s, like 20 to 25 years old, definitely 20 to 30 years old.
Yeah.
Um, I have met so many people in that age group who are really do have that sense of purpose,
Mhm.
and who are making they're not taking the normal track in life. I know a lot of people in that age group that maybe have decided to travel instead of going right into college, or who have decided to pursue some, fields of study that are outside of the, normal college curriculum, and are doing that because they love it. I've also seen, people, young people in that age group who are very emotionally mature,
Mhm.
who have really worked on how they're responding when they feel emotional or when they feel upset, or how they're responding in relationships. It's been very interesting for me to see, and I've learned from them in some of those ways. And so that's absolutely amazing. Now, another example of young people who are making big changes in the world, of course, is Greta Thunberg. And what an incredible individual she is. And she's, been standing up to international governing boards, and really speaking about the future of the earth and what it means for the next generations coming up. So, she goes up against quite big, large forces in our world. So I think the progress is slow, but she's standing up. She's making her voice known. I am so encouraged by a number of young people who are indigenous.
Mhm.
There's a young man from Mexico, from the Aztec culture. His last name is Martinez. I can't pronounce his first name. It's like this, it's really long, but he's doing incredible activist work. He's a musician, and he's also speaking up about, the future of the earth and climate change, and how do we make the changes now. Um, there's a wonderful young woman named Lila June. She's the daughter of one of my elder teachers, Pat McCabe, and she's an indigenous Navajo woman. And Lila June is also a musician and a spoken word artist, and she's just doing this incredible work to share about different ways of living, and how can we live more indigenously, more in alignment with the earth. So these are some examples of, people in their 20s.
Mhm.
Now, as far as younger kids today, I am also so encouraged by the way that I see um, the children that I come into contact with through my kids and through the school and, the local area here, of honoring each other's uniqueness. It's really cool to see, where I feel that in maybe previous times or previous decades there might have been more bullying going on, and instead now there's this, you do you, okay, that's an interesting shirt, I think it's cool because you like it.
Mhm.
Very interesting,
Yeah.
rather than putting people on the outside of the circle for being different. I feel like people are being welcomed into the circles, actually, because of their differences in a lot of ways. Of course, not always, but I feel this is happening more so now than what I have seen in previous generations. So that's really encouraging. I'm sure I would, love to ask everybody listening, what do you see in the younger generations that you feel is so encouraging, and that is, going to be setting them up to be good leaders of tomorrow? Because I would love to hear everybody's experiences, but those are some of my thoughts.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you because that's exactly the experience I have with my daughter's friends. Well, my daughter is 26 now. She, well, spent her time, her teenager time in Vancouver, and now she is 26, and they all studied, they have finished their study, they are all still make a community, are interested with each other. They have all risen into their own power, and it's so fascinating when I see them coming together, how they acknowledge each other. And even in my work as a teacher, it's so different nowadays from 10, 20 years ago that, as you say, not everybody needs to be alike. They really acknowledge and honor the differences in each other much more. And that's, I think, the right movement here to, well, to cheer on and to say, well, that's really the way we need to go to, right? Mm, what do you do with your own children to foster their leadership skills, their confidence, and their sense of purpose?
Yeah, absolutely. I love that question. So it's funny because the first thing that's coming to my mind is I encourage them to walk outside barefoot. And I know that seems like kind of a funny answer, but this is part of the earth connection and that feeling of reciprocity and understanding what is the natural order of things. For tens of thousands of years, hundreds of thousands of years,
Yeah.
humans have evolved to be walking on the earth, sleeping on the earth, being outdoors most of the time. It's very recent that we've been building these houses and we stay inside and we have the air conditioning and the heating and all of that. So I feel it is so important as a way of connecting with like real reality out there, not the
Yes.
screens in here, but real reality out there. To go and walk barefoot and to notice a butterfly and fill the bird feeder and these kinds of things where we're connecting with those other beings and forms of intelligence in the plants and the animals, and connecting with the earth, our beautiful planet. So I encourage, lots of walks and time in nature and walking barefoot when it is safe to do so. Very, very important. And also, I try in every way that I possibly can to, be asking them about what they're feeling deep inside. One way actually of doing this is almost every morning I ask them, did you have any dreams? Do you want to tell me your dreams? And I think this is something that a lot of people are not, as tuned into these days, but it's so important to listen to our children's dreams and then honor their dreams and, say, what does that mean to you? What do you think the symbolism of that thing in your dream meant? Help them to think more deeply about it because that's a tool that they can use all throughout their lives.
Yes.
But also, what do they love doing? My younger daughter really wanted a typewriter, like an original typewriter. She said, I don't want to be typing on the screen and I want to write a book. And I was like, okay, well, let's get you a real typewriter. So I found this, it's like from 1972 or something. It's like an old typewriter and she loves it. And she'll just be pecking away on that typewriter, for hours. It's so interesting. She wants to write her book. So I think it's so important to tune in
Yeah.
to what do your kids love? What do they really want to do? What is something that maybe like nobody else is doing, but they really want to do? So I try to stay tuned into that. Also with their confidence, and they certainly my 13-year-old now has had a few situations where there's, girls being mean at school. And so, working with her through those situations. And I think one of the biggest things that, I keep coming back to and that we can all keep coming back to is if somebody's being mean, it's not about you. It's not about who they're being mean to. It's about their own insecurities that they have within themselves, So don't let it don't let it beat down your confidence. You've done nothing wrong, right? And
I can't
of
agree
course, if
more.
I
I have
if
to
I
jump.
know that my
I
daughter's
have
in integrity and what she's done. What did you say?
I can't agree more. Just to jump in, that's,
Mhm.
I think, the most important part for parents and also teachers to help them regulate their emotions by acknowledging them first and let them express the emotions, let them get aware of their emotions even, right? That's, I think, the most amazing task you can do as a parent, right? And acknowledge that's nothing wrong with you and that the external world, let that be the external world, but acknowledge your own world. Sorry,
Yes.
I
Yes, I love that.
didn't mean to interrupt you.
No worries. That's great. Yeah, that's making me think of a conversation I had with my daughters just this morning. So this morning I took them to summer camp, and I had to go and pick them up from their dad's house and take them to summer camp this morning because they're staying with him, but he couldn't take them this morning. So when I got there, they were both crying and they were both very emotional, and they had had a fight. I guess he left 15 minutes, but their dad left 15 minutes before I got there, and they were home alone, and they were having an argument, and they were both very emotional, and they were both very upset with the other one. And so we got in the car, and I was asking them what happened, and that was what I felt was the most important thing, exactly what you said, to let them both feel their emotions fully and not try to rush to a solution, but sit with both of them as we were driving there. And, Sophia, how do you feel about this? And what do you need? And Lily, how do you feel about this? And what do you need? And then, they were much calmer after being able to express that. So it was
Yeah.
very interesting.
And
Um,
especially if the mother is regulated like you were not anxious. You did not come to their emotions in an anxious way, wanting them to squish this emotion down. But if you let them express, it will go over. And this is the most beautiful experience for them, that everything can be fine. That's such a visceral experience, right?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it's interesting because I think, as a mom, I'm like, I want them to stop fighting. I just want it to be okay, but to not try to rush to that.
Yes.
Um, Yeah, so that is also important. And I will say one more thing is I do think it's really important as parents and as educators these days, as much as we can, to encourage kids to do things with their hands, because
Mm.
there's so much that's available on the screens, on the iPads and the phones and the computer and whatever tablets. And my kids, my one daughter crochets and the other one knits. They
Good.
both love to draw and paint. They both love to play outside. And I think that is just so critically important. And I've worked hard to like put the materials in front of them so they,
Yeah.
they know how to have fun using their hands. And
Yes.
so we can do that. And even it can be hard if a child is used to being on the screen a lot, and it takes time to make that shift, but it can be done. And it's, oh my gosh, so important for them to be able to use this, the body, the amazing body, and all the gifts that we have of our hands and our mind and our body, outside of the screen worlds.
Yeah,
So
it's scientifically there's the brain-hand connection, which is really informing you about the world. And when I teach a grade 7, that's the time when the primary students come into secondary students and come into my classroom. When I have a grade 7, I spent the first half year, well, giving them a lot of time to do the handwriting and not to use the computer. They have to do the handwriting. They hate it in the beginning because it's so hard for them, and they love to print. And I encourage them to do a nice handwriting. Find your way. I don't say you have this to do it this or that way. Find your way that you are able to write, have a good or develop a good handwriting. It's so important nowadays.
yes, yeah, it really is.
Yeah. So, well, apart from you, how can other moms and dads learn to be the best versions of themselves to show up as a role model, for instance, for their kids,
Mhm.
which is so
Yeah, this
important?
is this is so important, and it can be really hard because as parents, we're tired, we're working hard, we're doing the job or whatever career we need to do to put food on the table,
Yes.
you know, and that can be a lot of hours, you know, for many of us, and then we can be exhausted, and so it can be hard to be fully present with the kids. And so there's also all the other worries, financial worries, health worries, family worries, whatever might come in.
Yeah.
So this is something that I've, oh my goodness, learned in so many ways over the years. We've got to take care of ourselves.
Mhm.
You know, we've really got to take care of ourselves. And so I think for parents, I want to say especially for moms, or maybe I should say especially for whoever's really the primary caregiver, right? Because I know in some cases that is dads. In many cases, it's moms that take on more of the emotional burden of the kids, right? Just naturally. So, but in any case, whoever is really carrying the emotional burden of the family, whoever is the one that the kids are, you know, whoever the kids are coming to when they're crying, when they really need you, you've got to get self-care. You've got to take good care of yourself. And so, whether this means, you know, I know when my kids were really little and I was starting my business, the one thing I needed was to just go to the coffee shop for 3 hours, so on a Saturday morning, so I could do whatever I needed to to get my business started. This is while I was still working in corporate during the week and then starting my business on the weekends, right? But if I had that 3 hours in the coffee shop and the kids stayed with their dad, I could be so much more present for the rest of the weekend because I knew I had gotten those critical things done. Um, but you know, a half a day out in nature, whatever you need most. And I think so that's an important question to ask, right? Tune in and say, what do I really need to to feel better or to be okay or to not be so exhausted? Maybe it's, you know, getting to go to sleep earlier. Maybe it's setting an earlier bedtime for the kids so you can go to sleep earlier and get more rest. I know there were some nights, as a mom, when I was so exhausted and it came to the time to, you know, read the book, you know, before bed. And there were most nights I did, but there were some nights when I was like, you know what, it's just time for us to all go to bed. And that was my self care. You
Mhm.
know, for me in that moment was, instead of taking in the 15 minutes to read the book, I took 15 minutes to go to bed earlier because that's
Yes.
what I needed in order to be okay and be more there for them when we all wake up the next morning.
Yeah.
Um, so another thing is, really like making it fun, you know, cultivating fun. And I think these things that we can do with our hands can be so fun. Like, let's all make a painting together. My kids and I, we haven't done this so much recently, but we used to have drawing contests where in the evening, you know, after dinner, we would each have a piece of paper, me and my two girls, you know, we would each have a piece of paper, and we would give, you know, one person gives a drawing prompt and then everybody has to draw that, and then we would like compare and contrast and like have fun drawing together, right? So it's another version of like family game night, but to have these fun moments, you know, playing
Yes.
outside can be so fun. And it's like fun moments off the screen now, I think is really important to consider. Or let's all learn to crochet together, you know, something like that. Make it fun so that you're having a good time too, you know, along with the kids. We don't want the kids to be having fun and then mom and dad are, you know, slaving away and not getting what they need or not having any fun. We really want, you know, it to be all the whole family together having fun. Um, and let's see, there's something else I was going to say. Oh, I would say too about purpose.
Mhm.
You know, because I do know a lot of parents who are not happy about their job. They're not feeling fulfilled by their job. So, you know, really spend some time if that's your situation, if you're working for somebody else or you're not, you know, not happy with your career, really spend some time dreaming into how can I bring more purpose into my life?
Yeah.
You know, and it might be, you know, I always say it might be as simple as like planting a vegetable garden for the community, bringing the community together around a garden, or painting, you know, finding an art form that you enjoy. It doesn't have to be a replacement of the career, although it may be, it may grow to that in some cases. But what would you find really fulfilling? What would you find filled with meaning? um, because again, all anything that we can do to take care of ourselves, it's going to make us better able to be there fully and present and able to fully take care of our kids.
Yes, it's beneficial for our kids, and it's beneficial for our own health and for establishing sustainable relationships. And that's also something we have to learn. It's not a given that we come to this world and know how to do relationships, right?
Yes.
So, yes. So, as you said, the key is to reconnect to ourselves, to our soul, to our hearts, to who we truly are in order to live this healthy life and this life where we are able to make sustainable friendships and develop trust with others, which is also for a new world and a new leadership so important to develop trust. And this, you can only develop trust in others if you have developed it on your own for yourself, right? And if you have experienced that this external chatter does not matter so much to your life. And one way I think to reconnect is through meditation. And I know you are leading wonderful guided meditations, and I've taken part in so many. And if I'm really down on a hard day, I just switch on a meditation you have guided earlier, and I just lay down and follow that meditation. I really thank you for all the work you've done so far. And I would just ask you for us to, well, to guide a meditation for with us, just for everybody to be present now, everybody who is present now or everybody who is present later to experience it. Would you be willing to do that for us?
Yes, absolutely. And before I do, there's one really important thing that I want to add to the topic we were just talking about. So I'll just mention this. There's something else that I learned along the way that's so important is that it's, as a parent especially, it's not selfish to get self-care. It's not selfish if you need to go for a walk and leave the house, if the kids are safe, leave and go for a walk. Or, in my case, I had to learn that it was not selfish for me to want to choose this new career path and start my own business. And because I felt very selfish at certain times, like going to the coffee shop for 3 hours every Saturday morning, I felt on some levels very guilty that I was not home with the kids for those 3 hours on Saturday morning. But what happened, because I followed my heart, was that I shifted from that career that was not fulfilling to me. I was exhausted all the time. I was stressed out all the time working in corporate, to now this doing this work that I love, and it lights me up. And even if I have a long day, I have still so much energy because I love what I'm doing. And so it's made me a better mom because I took that time to follow my heart. And I really, really want to make that message strongly to everybody. It is not selfish to take care of yourself. It is not selfish to find ways to do what you love. And you are modeling that for your kids then. You are also setting them free from maybe the old constructs or the old guilt and shame, patterns, by you choosing to do what you love and following your heart. So it's fun to say that.
Yes.
Okay. So, yeah, let's go into a meditative space. And I just invite everybody to get really comfortable in your space. And we can just go ahead and close our eyes together and begin dropping into a meditative space together here. And let's take a deep breath, breathing into our hearts. And as you're breathing in, really see the beautiful gifts of the sunlight and the oxygen and all these amazing gifts that give us life, that surround us at every moment, flowing into your heart. And then breathing out, slowly, slowly, becoming more and more present right here in this moment. And taking another deep breath, breathing in that sunlight, oxygen, beautiful elements around you. And breathing out slowly, slowly. And I invite you to imagine yourself standing in a beautiful open field with the grasses all around you, waving in the breeze, and the sun shining on your face. And maybe picture yourself standing there barefoot with the soles of your feet, connecting into our beautiful, beautiful earth. Allow yourself to receive the unconditional love energies of the earth, our great mother, flowing up through the soles of your feet and coming into your body and nourishing every cell of your being. And just allow that unconditional love from the earth to flow in and fill you up and heal you and nourish you in all the ways that you need most at this moment. Continuing to breathe deeply. And then as you look out at this beautiful field that is just glowing in the sunlight and the beautiful green and brown grasses are waving in the wind, you begin to see our children or the children of the future there in this field. And maybe you see your own children surrounded by their friends. Maybe you see children from all different countries, all around the world, playing together, laughing together. And as the sun is shining so brightly, illuminating these beautiful children in their play, you can see that these children all around the world have everything that they need in order to become the leaders of tomorrow. And you can feel that there's great power in just holding this vision, holding this concept of all of the children all around the world having everything that they need to be happy, to be confident, to have purpose and meaning in their lives, to feel loved and supported, to know that they are special, that they are smart, that they are kind, that they are so loved. And so as you're watching these children in the field playing together, I invite you to take the energy of these children here and just see that energy going out all around the world, wrapping around the earth and bringing these gifts of happiness and love and confidence and joy to all children everywhere. And then I invite you to see, maybe feeling this in your heart, maybe seeing it in your mind's eye. What will the future look like as these beautiful children grow up and bring their purpose to the world, bring their love and their joy into the world? What is possible for us? What is possible for the collective of humanity as we go forward with these children leading the way And maybe in this future that you see, maybe those who were children in the field are now 30 or 40 or 50 years old, and they've created a very different experience of life in the world together with our help, those of us who are adults now. So just take a minute to tune in and see, what is that bright and vibrant future that is possible for all of us? Really connecting in with all of the positive possibilities. And let's hold this vision together as everyone who is listening to this meditation is holding this vision. It gains strength, it gains power, and it becomes more and more real, more and more possible. This beautiful, bright, and vibrant future. And the important role that our children of today will contribute in creating it. So let's hold this vision for the future as a deep intention that we hold in our hearts. So maybe you can take that vision or that felt sense that you had of the future and just bring it into your heart and hold it there for safekeeping, and let it grow within you. Let it inspire you every day as you are being a parent or a grandparent or a teacher or whatever you may do. Hold this vision. Think of it every day. And hold that feeling of all the children around the world having what they need. And together we are already creating this beautiful, beautiful future. So now, beginning to come back out of the meditative space, let's take a deep breath in, breathing into your heart once again, breathing into that vision that you now hold in your heart. And then breathing out slowly, slowly. Maybe wiggle your fingers and your toes a little bit to help you come back into the present moment. When you feel ready, go ahead and open your eyes. Come back.
Thank you so much, Jocelyn, for this wonderful journey. And thank you, Jocelyn, for all you have shared with us today. It's been so very powerful and so very human. Well, the work you are doing is actually so important. Your daily work is so precious that I want to thank you. And I know who am I to thank you, but I'm very grateful for the work you do. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Karen. It's been so lovely to talk with you today. Thank you for this beautiful conversation. It was really fun.
Yes. Well, where can people find you online, and are there any upcoming offerings, programs, or events you would like to share with us?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find me online. The best place to find me is my website, which is wearesacredplanet.com. So my business name is Sacred Planet, and the URL is WEARE. So wearesacredplanet.com. And there's also a Sacred Planet YouTube channel where you can see all my latest videos that I share. I share a lot by video. One thing that I definitely want to mention is the Global School for Star Children.
Mhm.
This is something that I've I've created in collaboration with others around the world through my business, Sacred Planet. And so the Global School for Star Children is an online learning space where we feature classes that kids would not be taught in your normal school system. And so these are really amazing classes to help children get in touch with their intuition, their confidence, their healing abilities, and so much more. So it's really fun and exciting. And the free gift that I'm offering will take you to learn more about the Global School for Star Children and register if you'd like to receive updates about it. And I have many more things going on, but if you go to my website, you can check out and see what's there. I lead tours to Egypt and I teach online courses, different courses throughout the year. So lots of fun things going on.
Yes. Jocelyn, I love your work. It's been a pleasure talking with you today. And I'm so grateful you took the time to share your wisdom with us today. All
Thank
the
you so much,
best.
Karen.
All the best for your future.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
you too.